right. So we'll start now. Welcome everyone to another Open Innovator collision, right? And for those of you, joining us for the first time, Open Innovator, as I said, is more than a stage. It's a global collision point for the architects of the future. And here we bring together a handpicked network of world-class thought leaders, investors, and strategists, to discuss what is actually moving the needle. And today session is a closed door briefing. Yes, it is an exclusive session on the most critical pivot point of 2026, which is from hype to cash flow.
I lost you guys.
And right, and suddenly everyone. So I was saying, you walk into a coffee shop right now, and the person sitting next to you will actually pitch you an AI powered toaster, right? Everyone is an AI expert in today's world. Come on. We have reached peak hype, I would say. But as we move into 2026, right, this year, the market has developed a very low tolerance for potential and a very high hunger for profit. Well, you would better understand it, right? The gold rush, I would say, is over. We are now in the settlement phase. And in this phase, nobody cares about how cool your algorithm is if your cash flow is still stuck in tailspin, right? And today, we are cutting through the buzzword to find out what actually makes money. Is it the tech, or is it the same old business logic dressed up in a new hoodie, right? And to help us find the gold, we have three people who literally spend their days separating the signal from the noise. We have Deborah, ladies and gentlemen, Carolina, and Hugo joining us from different parts of the world. They are the navigators today. They aren't just, watching the horizon, they are the ones actually steering the ship through the high stake waters, right? Let's get real about the money part now. Every day we have seen the headlines, we have seen AI, the hot kid of the town right now, labeled, you will see AI labeled slab on every pitch deck. I understand you go through a lot of startup pitch decks, right? Every startup is an AI startup.
Hi.
In fact, 7, the market, has stopped. And the cheap capital and the high hype is over now. We are now in the era of cash flow. And today we are going to find out where the real money is hiding. Is it in the algorithm? Is it in the data or the old school business logic that AI just happened to accelerate, right? We'll now deep dive and we'll just get to work now without further ado. Let's do a quick reality check for everyone watching today, right? How many of us, have actually seen a new tech trend, I'll say, and we all would have thought, damn, this cool stuff feels exciting to me. But at the same time, have also wondered whether is it really investment worthy or just the hype of the moment. So Deborah, let me start with you. You know, you have seen global business cycles play out across 4 continents. We have gone through your profile, and when you look at the current AI landscape, Deborah, what's the internal litmus test you use to decide if a trend is real revenue driver or just a shiny distraction, Deborah?
Right. Yes. Thanks for that. Thanks for the intro, Naman. And basically, as per what I've noticed, working in different parts of the world is basically, I mean, especially working with founders and in their decision-making process in terms of growth. I do notice that there's a struggle in between: should I hire more people, or should I substitute those amount of people for a tech or an AI tool, right? That could perform in a maybe similar way, right? Being that the case. So I mean, based on that, Naman, I believe that I mean, from a reality check standpoint, I feel like um I feel like it's important for a founder to really have a good understanding of the business model and see and also looking internally in terms of cash flow, and understanding if, I mean, if it's indeed a suitable solution to bring people in, or an AI tool, right? Just because it's basically a matter of, you know, making the right decision, and also, but also considering the future as well, right? Because the future is right now with AI dominating, if I may use this term, but you know, being in a bigger part of you know, of the current bubble, right, that's going in. But really, I mean, let's see how that's going to go, right, for the following years. But I strongly believe that from a realistic standpoint, I believe that founders, they need to have a good balance. As per what I've noticed, that everyone wants to go for AI. Hey, show me what's the most what's trending right now in AI that can help me solve this problem. I feel like technology is a tool, is a great guidance, but I feel like there's also a need to keep a balance, right, in between both, and also respecting budget, right? Budget is very important, especially if these companies are looking for funding. So respecting budget and being effective and bringing in results, I feel like it's an important balance for founders to take under consideration. I mean, that's what I've noticed, Naman. And it's interesting because since we're talking technology and nowadays, I mean, everything is just so globalized, that I noticed that it's sort of, even though it's different demographic and sometimes even different geography, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's in a similar struggle, or, you know, decision making process at the end of the day.
Well, nicely put. Well, that's I would believe that's a pretty good start to the discussion. So it's about durability of the problem being solved, right? That leads us perfectly to Carolina, who is actually building the tools to measure that durability. So Carolina, you have, you know, run an AI awareness experiments, and now you look at ventures through the lens of risk assessment, right? So
Yeah,
when
I
uh-huh.
thank you, thank you.
So
Sorry for interrupting you.
so all right, quickly. So when that, you know, excitement, I would say, hit the boardroom, how do you separate a genuine investment opportunity from a trend that's riding the wave?
Well, simple. I am kind of like the weird specimen in this industry. I started doing like some big events and startup competitions and did my own startup, started hanging out with VCs. When I was organizing startup competitions, never the startup I thought it would win won. I was always wrong. So I started interviewing the VCs and started collecting data and got into my power the 100 questions that a VC asks in order to know if a startup is going to succeed. So I sat with my CTO and started prompting 4 years ago. So thanks to that research of Stanford and the VC's companies that I've been working, I can just get a pitch deck and say, okay, these are the red flags or the green flags of this startup. But that doesn't mean anything. I know I am a general manager of a fund. My responsibility is make money for my investors, make my startup successful. But my real mission here is like doing this question: how do you personally separate innovation that improves human life from innovation that just accelerates everything and then is focusing just having lots of profits without like taking care of, I don't know, the workers that help build the system at the beginning, you know?
Right.
So I follow founders with compelling value proposition. Obviously, cash flow is the most important at the moment to invest, but I feel the question is more like into the to the human nature. Where is this going and why we are putting so much on this?
Well, that I would say that's a data-driven reality check, and nicely put. But Hugo, I'll come to you next. You are actually looking at companies that already have some skin in the game. right? The ones at the half a million ARR mark, right? So Hugo, my question to you is at BTEP Ventures, which you are part of, you are seeing companies that have I would say moved past the idea phase. And when you actually see a trend gaining heat, how do you distinguish between a temporary spike in interest and a sustainable path to, let's say, 5 million or 10 million in cash flow?
That is a great question, and I think it's a bit grounded in what we have discussed so far. Is asking the fundamental question of, is AI actually needed here, or is this really just a nice to have that will pass at some point? I believe something that is very interesting is, especially with the companies that target the enterprise segment, those types of deals can be very large, and it can seem like the company is gaining a lot of traction very fast. But is in those types of cases where it's most critical to understand what is AI actually doing within the company, because what I believe is the type of approach that looks to integrate will stick better than the type of approach that tries to transform the whole process. Um, Look at it like if you are trying to convert a combustion gas car into an EV, and also the car while the car is moving, that is going to be very, very hard. It's going to sound very promising. It's going to sound like it has a lot of potential, but companies rarely have the time to wait for all of that disruption to happen at the same time. And I think when companies rather try to integrate in the current discussions of the company that have been a matter for them for um, since the beginning, really like pricing, churn, revenue growth. If you make your way into those conversations and are
Mhm.
consistent about the way you are delivering results in those places, I think that has a better chance to stick past the initial early adopters versus the ones that are promising the moon, but very soon companies find out that they were shooting very, very high. Uh, so I'd say that it's more about trying to integrate with the current business as usual, and why not change it bit by bit, but not trying to do so from day one, because I think when the hype started, you had a lot of companies that promised like uh, complete transformations of some critical process of companies, like for example sales. Um, Procurement, things that are strategic for companies and that are very, very hard to change in just a short window of time. And that is why you also hear a lot of headlines about, oh, AI is actually not returning anything on the investment. It's because I think many ideas started with trying to change the way business is done instead of trying to integrate into the way business is actually being carried out nowadays. That is what I am seeing today.
Well, there you have it. There you have it from Hugo. It's always easier said than done, right? So very, very, very interesting point. We have made our notes. All right. We will now, go deeper into your specific expertise, all our speakers. I want to look at the moats and the misfires in the current market now. And now with this, we'll move to segment two, where we'll ask you a more personalized question based on your expertise. I'll start with Carolina. Carolina, you are building AI tools that assesses investment risk and investor readiness. And you know, do you see a future where capital decisions become meaningfully augmented by AI? Or very important, will human judgment, I repeat, will human judgment and intuition always remain the final mode? Carolina.
Yes, like I will not call it like intuition. I know AI and it helps me because I get a pitch deck and in 30 seconds I know if I'm introducing this startup to my advisors to see we're gonna invest. In 30 seconds. I don't even need to see the 5-minute pitch. Just with the pitch deck, right? if that startup is ready to get money now. But that is not, that is just like an assessment. The real thing about investing is human, and is the responsibility of the investor, of the responsibility of the founder that make it happen. So yes, we can have AI that, I don't know, save some time for us to understand a business, a company, a founder, the path, the team, the readiness, the business plan, the competitive advantage, the compelling value proposition. But at the end of the day, yeah, I can get an AI that tells me this startup is the best and the speech is the best, but then at the next day, the founder gets the money and goes to Hawaii to party, you know? So yes, AI is awesome, but also you have to have in a venture fund a strong due diligence team that knows, that has a founder that has the tenacity to make it happen, to be responding to a board, to continue raising money, because the raise money is not a one-time thing. Everybody loves their startups and doing their products and doing demos, but like the CEO life is not that. You get a team to do all that thing. You just keep knocking doors and raise money for the rest of the life of your startup. So yes, we can get some readiness, but no, AI doesn't give us responsibility.
No, very well said. In fact, intuition versus algorithm, I believe it's the ultimate 2026 debate, right? But even the best, like you said, even the best intuition can be fooled by fake momentum, right? Which Hugo sees all too often. By the way, we have one of our attendees, Gloria. Gloria has a very good question for all our speakers. I would like to take it. One question for the panelists. She says, if you could give one piece of advice to a CEO betting on AI, what it would be? Deborah, this is a question from one of the attendee, Gloria. So what advice would you give to a CEO who's betting on AI?
Well, I would say to have a good understanding of what the AI tool is bringing to the table, to see until which point it's going to be an added value, or if it's going to be something that maybe someone in the team that already can get it done.
Right.
So I would say balance at the end of the day. Just have good balance
That.
to make the right decision if getting if purchasing this AI tool is going to be truly effective or not.
So that's an important point. Balance is the thing to notice, right? So all right, Hugo, we'll come to you next. So at the, let's say for example, at the 500,000 plus ARR stage, for example, right? Founders, often feel like they have made it, right? So what's the common false sense of confidence you see in B2B founders, Hugo? The false sense of confidence, that thing that looks like momentum but quietly delays real predictable cash flow.
I think I like the word predictable because, and this is certainly not something that happens across the board, but it is very common, especially with the companies that target enterprise, that they feel like they have nailed sales. And when you talk to them, they actually don't have a playbook. Like their sales is still founder-led and network-driven. And that is perfectly fine, but it's sometimes not scalable and sometimes even not repeatable. If selling depends on you being at the right place at the right time, talking to the right person, that is very hard to replicate at scale. It certainly can be a way of building a business, but not necessarily the one that will generate double-digit growth, which is what you need when you are looking at visible backable companies. So I'd say that is something that I press a lot in initial conversations, to understand really if there is a playbook at all, because particularly as you mentioned, we are looking to invest in companies that have at least have a million ARR. The reason for that is not the number for the sake of the number, but because we have back tested it and seen that it is at this point where companies usually have a go-to-market strategy that is not evolving very fast, and they also have a sales team in place. that can replicate that playbook. But of course, you always have to find out, because sometimes that is not the case, and that is certainly one of the most common false positives that I find in my day-to-day conversations.
Perfect, perfect. So that's the phantom growth trap, we would say. Many founders try to solve that by going bigger and, by going global. But Deborah, that actually can be a double-edged sword, right? And, Deborah, you have actually helped startups expand across the US, Latin America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. So, at what stage, does global expansion actually strengthen a company's path to cash flow, which is very important? And a follow-up question: when does it quietly become a distraction from monetization? Deborah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, as per what I've noticed in terms of companies and their expansion process, so ideally those companies, talking about the founder specifically, I would say the best scenario, I mean, the best stage to expand to a new country is basically usually when this specific company has matured in their current market, which means they have a defined ICP, so they know exactly who their client is, and they have cash flow, they have revenue coming in, right? And basically, when it's really like it's a numbers game at the end of the day, right? So if they know, if the founder has this understanding, or the CEO, that the business model is suitable, it sells out, it's scalable. So they were, for instance, if company X was able to grow in that specific market, so I feel like if they dominate at least what they're doing from a scalable perspective, even though it's local, I feel like that is a good momentum to start looking outside and basically looking at other markets and seeing, okay, where is another market where my ICP has a similar behavior, right? But also considering other points as well, in a way that will make the company be profitable. And with that, I answer your second question, in regards to which point is it the right time, or is it just something that's like maybe ego situation, right? So I feel like it's important for a founder to have that understanding and timing, I would say, to make that decision. I feel like expanding to a new country, some countries or regions around the world, they may have barriers of entry. So there are other contacts apart from understanding if there's a client, if there's a potential client or specific demographic in that region. So I feel like from a founder's perspective, it's really about having a good timing, but also understanding the new area, or at least the new region where this company is looking to grow to. So I feel like it's really about um, basically like reading the situation itself and understanding, because the purpose of growing to a new region is to have more clients and therefore more opportunities and revenue, right? Not just as a selling point, like, hey, we're operating in this country, but I mean, if they're not being profitable, then it's just not effective. It's better for these companies to stay where it is and just mature enough prior to expand to a new region. But ideally, I would say, again, at the end of the day, it's all about good timing and understanding the numbers, right? So that cash is king, as they say, right? So it's important to really have respect timing
Of course.
and money.
So cash is king, cash is king. There you have it, right? And before we move to our another interesting segment, so we have a question from Tanya Sharma, right? So she has a question for Hugo. How do you decide whether to double down on an AI incentive or write it off as sunk cost? So how do you decide if you want to double on an AI project or you just want to write it off? Hugo.
That is a very great question, and a top one for all VCs, I believe, not only for AI, but for all companies. So I think, and I don't want to sound like very obvious, but you really have to take a very close look at who's actually winning, right? And certainly, I believe cash flow is the life and blood of companies, but for most of the part of the growth stage of the company, you are going to be looking at how fast is revenue growing. And I think that is the first signal that I would look like is the company actually selling more, especially when it comes to um, like proving that the bets they are making are paying off. As Deborah mentioned, let's say, for example, the growth came out from a bet that was placed, for example, global expansion, and it actually paid out. That is something that it's not talking you about only the growth of revenue, but actually the execution of something as complex as going to another country and actually selling. So those are
Right.
the kinds of signals that you have to look out for, the ones that speak to you about the team and not so much about the things that could be just superficial or that stay just at the numbers level. There has to be a story, a narrative behind the success that you believe, and if you continue to believe, it will continue to be successful. That is where you double down. The contrary to that is where I wouldn't necessarily say you will write it off, but probably you will be more cautious about continue investing in the companies that are making bets that are not paying off, like one after the other, right?
Well, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. By the way, the conversation is getting exciting, and our chat bots are filled with questions. Right, Carolina, just one more for you from Neeraj Kumar. Do investors prefer AI companies that build models or those that apply AI to solve real business problems? What do you think? Quickly.
Well, there is two things here. Like there is kind of like if you just build your agents or your things on top of Anthropic or OpenAI, there is a risk. You know, if you obviously you are more attractive if you are building your own LLM, but like now with competing with like billions and $1 trillion company like OpenAI is impossible. But if you let me, I want to answer the first question because I actually thought about
Sure,
it
please.
before the first question that the Gloria I think made. So when I invest in startups, I like to see they have privacy by design. They have auditability. They have bias testing. They have a strong security. And I like businesses that the business model doesn't depend on exploiting the attention or selling data. For example, in my fund, like we are like investing in seed on an AI for enterprise, but we left 20% of the fund for AI that invest in the creator economy. Why? I am totally against into the Gen AI and the tokenization model. That's the only thing that I wanted to say. I like to invest in businesses that the business model is not exploiting.
Right. That's a great way to answer this question. And all right, so by the way, this discussion is already, we are already halfway down, but this discussion is going so interesting. Now we have come to our third segment, which is the rapid fire rumble, right? And this is an interesting segment. We'll have fun down the line. All right, we'll shift gears now. We are going into the rapid fire rumble. I want your gut reaction. All right, speakers, please pay attention. I want your gut reaction, and there will be this or that, true or false. You give me the word, and then you have 15 seconds to defend it. All right, and no safe answers, right? Hugo, you go first, right? Founder market fit or aggressive unit economics. I repeat, founder market fit or aggressive unit economics. If you can only have one in a pitch deck, which one wins in 2026? Hugo.
Founder market fit.
Founder market fit, there is it. All right, why so?
I find that it has been more durable over time than unit economics. I think unit economics becoming so important over the last 10 years is more of a product of the markets not being able to keep up with the amounts of cash needed in the new rounds nowadays. Like 10 years ago, a Series A it would be like probably a $3 million raise. Nowadays, a Series A can be upwards of 50 million. So that is why investors require companies not only to go for the full hike at all costs, but to make camp whenever possible and actually look at if they are making money or not, which is something that you wouldn't see, for example, in the early 2000s, even in the 90s. But what you will see across time is always who are you investing in.
So Hugo, I think it looks like you are a pro at this game. You answered that in less than a second. Great answer. And to Carolina, now your turn now. True or false? AI will eventually become a better limited partner than a human because it lacks the ego to chase hype.
No, false.
False. And
The
your
AI
15
is
second
prompted by
defense.
a human. The AI is prompted by a human. The human has mistakes by itself. I prompted AI when I was here in a very big company, and the AI could think that what I was prompting was correct, and I could probably be mistaken. So no, false.
All right. So Carolina certainly not a full-time fan of AI right now. But anyway, we'll go to Deborah now. Deborah, you know, dominating one local market or being average across three continents, which actually build more resilient cash flow.
I would say average in three countries.
All right, your 15-second defense.
Right. Yeah. So because simply because I mean when you have because if you're in three different economies, worst case scenario, if there's a crash in one economy, you still have two to handle your business, basically, as an option.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, now final question, and this is common to all the panelists. Is the AI bubble going to burst before the end of 2026? Yes or no? Shout it out.
No, no.
No?
No.
I don't think so.
So two no's so far. Deborah?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's gonna burst. Yeah, not that
So
soon.
AI wins hands down 3-0, 3-0, 3-0 AI. All right, perfect. Now, all right, now we'll move to our last segment, and we have talked about the traps and the metrics. We have looked at the traps, the hype, and the metrics, right? Now we want to end with what gets you all excited, right? And I'll ask each of you this differently. So, Deborah, you see the world through the lens of global trade and business strategy, right? And when you look at a company's operational DNA, what is one green flag that tells you that they aren't just selling a tool, but they are building a global powerhouse?
I would say so a green flag I would say would be they're selling, they have clients, they have revenue coming in, and basically they found a product market fit. So they understand exactly who their customer is, and with that, I believe that with that configuration, properly understood, it's easier to it helps the scaling part. So definitely, I mean, definitely green flags is number one. Do they have clients? If yes, they're getting started, right? But certainly product market fit, and that's definitely a path to scalability.
All right, all right. Now, since Deborah, you are already online, so we have another question specifically for you. So one of our attendees said, "We love the quote, Deborah. Cash is the king. What signal in an AI MVP tells you it can realistically scale into cash flow?" So your quote is already being loved by a lot of people who are watching it right now. Cash is the king. So what signal in an AI MVP tells you that it can actually scale?
I mean, I would say it's similar from the previous question. Do you have demand, right? Do you have people that are going to buy, that are going to purchase your solution? So I mean, from AI MVP, right? So as for my understanding, so if they're in an MVP stage using AI solution, right? I believe I got that. I mean, that was somehow the question, right? So if that's the question itself, I would say that again, it's important to understand until which point is AI gonna be helping, right? And or substituting human, right? So for instance, it's really about understanding if it's important to make that cash investment at that stage, or if the specific founder can use whatever he or she has internally, right? Because that's
Mhm.
also something investors look at. How are you, till where you can go without our money, right? I mean, how, if you know how to handle it, and if you can make a lot of sales with less effort, that's definitely something that investors are going to be looking at. But if you understand, and so there comes again the balance part, right? For the founder to really understand if it makes sense to make an investment in AI, or just stick to the current structure that they have.
Right, right, right. We have got such a curious audience today. So, Deborah, it's about the scalability of the culture, I would say. But Carolina, your lens is different. You use AI to analyze the risk itself, right? So, Carolina, when you run a company through your risk assessment models, what is one signal, perhaps something that AI picks up that a human might miss, that makes you, lean forward and say, wow, this is an outlier.
Compelling value proposition. Simple. Compelling value proposition.
Compelling value proposition. Well, all right, all right. Well,
That
that's a
is what my AI analyzes and answers 100 questions. Is this startup is going to be successful? That is the prompt. Is this startup going to succeed? And this came because I used to do or organize, or I still do, a startup World Cup regionals. So if I have access
Mhm.
to the best startups of the world, the best of the best, and the best judges. So thanks, thanks to my AI judge in these startup competitions, I was able to implement it in Harvard Accelerator program. And then they gave me more data. So basically the AI tells me 1 to 10, how ready is this pitch to do due diligence. That doesn't mean that what he said is real. There needs to be a person looking at the data, at the team, at the resumes, at how they manage their finances. It's just a tool that in 30 seconds tells me, okay, this startup deserves a faster introduction than the other one.
Well,
But it
again,
doesn't
again.
mean anything, because a
Mhm.
pitch, I have pitch of people that seriously in the stage told me they have $30 million in signed MOUs, and they tricked all the judges. When we go into the due diligence, everything was a lie.
Well,
Yes.
again, yes, yes. Actually, very
So
interesting take.
so I get the data from the pitch. Oh, what an amazing startup. Let's get the meeting. No, this is not a breakthrough. No, the LLM is not proprietary. They have take 60% of OpenAI. So yeah, the AI can analyze the data that the human presents, but there is a due diligence and a responsibility from the GM or the investor of the same founder to, organize a business that is good for the world, good for the team, good for the investors, and all of the things.
Very, very well said. Actually, these days, most of the AI startups are just basically the fancy, UI wrapper of an open AI API call, right? So, and speaking of startup, Carolina, you will be in India in next few weeks. Would love to, show you around and introduce you to some top-notch deep tech startups who won't disappoint you. All right, but
That's good.
but Hugo, you are looking at the numbers and the founders who are already in 500,000 ARR danger zone, right? And let me ask you, Hugo, when a founder walks into BDev Ventures, beyond the ARR and the spreadsheet, what is one behavioral green flag that, that specific way they talk about cash flow that tells you that they are ready for the 5 million leap?
That is an excellent question, and I think it comes also connected to Carolina's, which is I think now that AI is helping us to do most of the manual processes at a venture capital fund, so that it actually helps us save time. I am sure that from today until the probably end of this year, most funds will switch to spending 90 to 95% of their time building trust with the founders they are looking to invest in and nurturing those relationships. Because at the end of the day, it's like marrying for at least 10 years with a company, and you need to be sure that you are investing in people that you trust. So what I'd say is when it comes to the deals that I see in the day today, something that stands out for me is, okay, who's the founder? What have they done before? And how much do they actually know their business? To your point, are they able to articulate a narrative that goes beyond give me this amount of money and I will generate this result? Can they actually go into the workings of that? Can they point out what are the assumptions, the levers that need to be pulled for things to actually happen? If that is the case, then we are starting with the right foot. If they and let me be completely honest, I've got answers like about, for example, competition that are like, okay, I will work harder than the competition, and I am sure they will. But that it is very hard for me to buy that story, you know. Um, Something that I hope won't let down some of our audience for having a potential conversation is our investment process is very long. It can take anywhere from 3 to 5 months. But I believe for the 60 plus companies that we have in the portfolio, that has been very beneficial because at the end of the day, we have been working together for a good amount of time and we know each other very well. Founders know if we
Right.
are the right investor for them, but also we have built enough conviction to make a decision by the time the process ends. And I think that is always going to be critical. As much as I believe the market is pushing for faster due diligence, in the end, I think it's always going to be an investment in people, and we have to take care of that. So my green flag would be that I trust the person across the screen.
Well, that's again a very smart answer, right? I'm sure all our attendees are making notes. And before I take one last question, right? Carolina, our team, have been digging deep into all our speakers' profile, and they've been insisting me from the back end that I should ask you, beyond your main role as an investor, you are also an electronic music producer, right? So what is it?
Correct.
Would you like to, to talk about it?
Well, I was in the music industry all my life. I did music when I was little. My computer was stolen when I made my first album, and then I decided to go into the business side. I was
Mhm.
able to tour with Coldplay, Depeche Mode, 30 Seconds to Mars, big bands. And then when I was there, I had an idea of making a system that helped artists touring, move to Silicon Valley, launch the system. Then in the pandemic, my mom gave me a letter from 20 years ago that says, Mom, I'm making music and I'm happy. And I was in the pandemic, like my software had to be killed. I was like, okay, let's use all this unemployment money and all this and go like a recording studio, did an album. And I said, okay, let's do this as a awareness
Oh,
experiment for AI. So what I did is I did 12 songs, and each one is an AI concept. So I give these concepts to artists around the world, but my perspective is neutral. So what I do is I promote the songs with different perspectives of thinkers and artists and videographers and poets around the world. So the songs are promoted in a different way, and that turned to be a TED Talk.
amazing,
So
amazing. So,
now in
so
2 weeks, I'm launching my second album in Tokyo, sponsored by Shibuya, Tokyo government in the Shibuya crossing. Then I'm going to India for all these talks at the AI Immersive Summit. So I try to just have fun, play music, and then it's
so
like my Trojan horse that get me to the Fortune 100 people meetings and do the AI risk assessment. So I've been helping a startup to raise money for the last 5 years, organizing the startup World Cups. And I was getting like a finder's fee for helping raise. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stop raising for other people. I'm going to raise my fund, and then I'm going to invest in the companies I think should be invested. So apply to the VC lab, and then I combine my performances to meet important people, startups, and that is what I do. I'm very happy to be here with you
Interesting.
guys.
No, interesting.
And if you guys need a risk assessment on any
So
startup, I love to get those pitches and get those results. It takes 30 seconds. 30
these are
seconds.
quite an interesting take. In fact, whenever we are doing an AI concert next, we know who to call, right? But anyway, so before we close, one question for everyone from Lalit, and also a similar question from Sam. So I'll mold it into a one question. In the next 5 years, speakers, all our leaders. So this is a common question for all. What type of AI investment will give the highest returns, tools, infrastructure, or applications? So I believe this is a subjective question, but yes, go for it.
I feel mobility could be a big one.
Okay, Hugo.
I think infrastructure, but at the same time, like the infrastructure that could make a big difference. I'm not sure all VC funds will be able to invest in that, but I do think it's a type of technology that could change people's lives.
Interesting. Deborah.
Yeah, I would also go with Hugo with infrastructure. I feel like it's a good momentum, and also, I mean, for consider 5 years from now with the evolution of technology and AI tools. I mean, I feel like we're at the very beginning, right, with AI, and as years go by, we're just going to improve. I mean, yeah, people are just going to think out of the box, right, and just bring in solutions, and yeah, basically.
All right, all right. Thanks a bunch. Thanks a bunch. So this has been actually a true masterclass in pragmatism, and we have seen today that the AI gold rush is moving into its most important phase, and that is the phase of accountability. From Deborah's insight on, global expansion timing to Carolina's perspective on augmented decision making, and of course, Hugo's warning about the traps of, early momentum. The message is the same. In 2026, the market isn't looking for the most advanced AI, rather, it's looking for the most indispensable business. To our panel, Deborah, Carolina, Hugo, thank you for cutting through the hype and giving us the real world math. And to those watching this recording on Open Innovators, stop looking at the valuation, start looking at the value, right? Stay sharp, stay profitable. Thank you everyone for joining. The session is concluded now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys. Let's chat. Send me all those pitches. I just give you a score 1 to 10. If can I share the screen? I can show a risk
Please.
assessment. Let me see. No, I
We
think
still have
I'm
some
so...
time, right? We still have some time. Yes, please. Meanwhile, Deborah, Hugo, if you want to add something, please. We still have some time.
Let me see what I have. Oh, well, this is an interesting...
The world
This
is
is the
entering an
this is
unprecedented.
the investment in lifetime in all these industries.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yes. Now let me give you a risk assessment. Maybe here in one of those AI pictures that I sent to my boss. Okay, cool. This is one company. Is not for venture, but this guy got some land from San Jose to build a sphere like Las Vegas for free for 5 years. So the AI says like innovation, tech readiness, defensibility, execution complexity, market timing, experience, governance, revenue map, aggressive high. So look, it gives us even like investor questions, rating, all of the things. Very easy and very fast. Yes.
We would love to connect with you offline, and probably you are visiting India, so we would love to also plan a meeting with you and discuss this in detail.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
and it takes For me, it takes 30 seconds, and it actually is the thing that a part of performing live, like that, I feel adrenaline when I get the pitch.
Perfect,
I love it.
perfect.
I love prompting the AI. Tell me if this startup is worth to invest, because it saves lots of times in the meeting, in the questions, in the like that. I remember like I was in Japan and this founder, no, my AI is the best, and then I put my CTO as a due diligence. Then I got them into the VC, and my CTO told me, no, his idea is the best, and I thought it was my mistake that was already a product, because my CTO said, no, that CEO is the best, his technology is the best. When we were in the VC meeting, they didn't build the fucking MVP. Was my fault. Took an hour from a VC from a bad due diligence, man. So never again.
That's quite an interesting take. Any closing note, Deborah, Hugo?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for attending the session. If you're looking for global expansion, feel free to reach out to On It Center. You can check my LinkedIn profile. Glad to connect and learn more about what you're doing.
100%, 100%, 100%. Hugo,
Thank you, everyone. It was an amazing conversation. And as well, we are investing in B2B software in companies that are targeting the US and Latin America markets. As Naman already mentioned, companies that are at a stage where they have $500,000 in ARR. And we are helping all the companies in our portfolio grow their sales via lead gen. So happy to have a conversation
Do
if
you
we can
only
help.
invest in AI? Like I have one of the person that I mentor is the winner of a Startup World Cup Mexico, Microendo. He's making lots of money. He has 9
We
patents. You know him?
I actually know him. Yeah, I
I
work
love
with
him.
him.
I tell
Is
him I love him.
Cristobal, right?
Mm. He's one
Yeah,
of my mentees. I've been here with him 3 years.
he's an
in fact,
amazing
9
guy.
patents.
in fact, we would love to connect with all three of you. In fact, we also would like to nominate some of our startups from our cohorts who are doing some exceptional work and already willing to expand globally. Look, and with your help and support and guidance, of course, they can expand their base to different
Naman,
parts.
I'm gonna send you a link and you just tell them to fill that in. When I'm in India, I'll give them their feedback.
100%,
So if you send me
100%.
a bunch of pitches beforehand, then when I get there, I'm prepared.
Done, done. Consider it done. All right. So on that
Thank
note,
you so
thank you so
much.
much for your time. It was so fun. And to be honest, one of the best panel. And thank you once again. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to, exploring more synergies in the coming months. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hasta pasta.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.